Carlos El Patriota, interview part 2. Hey folks, there's a link to the first part of this interview in the description below. Please check it out. I failed to mention this in part 1, but hopefully most of you noticed anyway. As we talk, I sometimes show photos and videos of what Carlos and I are talking about on the screen, so check that out. Also, as with the first interview, in the description I list the topics that we touch upon and give the time in the video that we touch upon them. This is for your convenience. So let's say you are discussing communism or Antifa or something like that on social media and you want someone to hear something that Carlos said in particular. You can go to that point in the video, right-click like this, select copy video URL at current time, and paste that URL in a post, a comment, an email, something like that. And when clicked upon, that link will go to that point in the video. Alright folks, here's part 2.
You are associated with Latinos For Trump. Are you actually a member?
Yes.
Okay, along with Marcos.
I work with Marco Gutierrez.
Yeah.
I get different things going on. Whenever he needs my support, I jump in. Right now, I know I'm kind of being not as active with him in the last, I would say, probably 3 weeks, but I really need to catch up with him because they're doing the pushing to take the sanctuary state to the ballot to overturn it
in California.
So that he's actually they did the referendum. Him and Ben Bergquam.
Bergquam. I don't know how to say his last name, but yeah.
I'm always murdering his last name.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben, if you're watching, if you watch this,
we'll put a link to his podcast.
This is what you get. This is what you get.
Yeah, but and I know they asked me because they want Hispanics faces out there promoting this thing because we need to show the media that, hey, you know what? Not everybody supports the crazy ideology.
Yeah.
Who are the ones that get mostly victimized? Are the Hispanic communities, the immigrant communities, not just Hispanic immigrant communities, because when you have the MS-13 gangs, they're not out there in Beverly Hills in the the Hollywood Hills area. They are in their own communities, victimizing us, assaulting and robbing the elderly and people that cannot defend themselves and people that are low income. But why do they do it? Because number one, it's the victims. Number two, they can terrorize you because the chances of you reporting are very low. So,
yeah.
But of course, they always go with, oh, it's a crime to deport them because you're separating families. Think of the children.
Right.
So, under that notion, I should be able to go next door, rape my neighbor, and when they try to arrest me because I have kids,
right?
You're separating families. So
right.
I should not be held accountable because I have kids. But that's what they're saying. So don't deport these criminals because you're separating families.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he should have thought about that before he's out there victimizing others.
Right, and using the kids once again as a wedge to basically stop people from thinking logically and make them think emotionally instead.
It's emotional.
Think of the children. Think of the children. So you, by the way, you said you immigrated when you were about 14 to the U.S. At 1985. Did you say?
1985. Yes.
It'd be funny if it was 1984 because that would be kind of funny because of the book.
Yeah, really, that would have been hilarious.
But you came, if you don't mind me asking, you came legally?
Oh, that's an interesting point. I remember I was mentioning that my brothers had to escape the country because once the revolution won back in 1979, back in I think it might have been 80 or 81, when they started doing the roundups. I think it might have been the 1980s. My brother and sister have to flee to Panama. They were setting a lifestyle over there. My mom she was dealing with being in prison because she was a businesswoman and she had her house and the house of my grandmother because they were under her name, and she was the owner of multiple bar restaurants and nightclubs, and so she was pretty wealthy. And obviously, I named a mistake because she was a bourgeois, bourgeois. So every time they wanted to take something from her, they will generate bogus charges, put her in jail for 6 months, and when she will come, 3 of her business will be gone.
Right.
And by the time she will be out, they will be under the property of the state, and you can ask for the state.
Wow.
And they will say, well, You never came and made any claims. How the heck am I going to make claims? I'm in jail.
Right.
And, you know, so my mom spent a lot of years in jail, and when she finally was able to walk away from that, she tried to get the paperwork to get me out of the country and get us all out and sell everything, because I was about to become 15, and at that time it was mandatory for the parents to turn in your kids to the government to go into the military.
Wow.
And my mom was trying to get me out.
Yeah.
Well, because of escalating tensions between Costa Rica and Nicaragua, they closed the border and militarized it, and we could no longer go south anymore. So we had to reprocess the visas and everything else, and we managed to get visas to go to Mexico. We got to Mexico, which is another story for another day. And Mexico, as much as they cry wolf about human rights and there's no illegals but only humans, and they're only coming for work, they're not very they only claim that when it's convenient to them. But in reality, they're not really pro immigration. They deport way more, 3 or 4 times more than the United States ever does.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you have legitimate reasons, they still deport you.
Yeah.
And the federalists are involved in human trafficking and all that stuff. But anyway, so we got to Mexico with visas, and my mom figured, okay, we'll go to Mexico and start a new life. We went to the embassy and we were told, welcome to Mexico. Your visa expires in 10 days. Enjoy your stay, but once she's done, get out of the country. We don't want you here.
Right.
And we were like, okay, so what do we do? My mom, we couldn't go back, because if we went back, we would be executed for escaping, for being traitors. So my mom decided, we heard that the United States was granting political asylum to Nicaraguans because of the war.
Right.
So my mom decided to take a chance, and we came across the border illegally, and then we went to the immigration and says, we're from Nicaragua, applying for political asylum, and it was granted because we have plenty of proofs, and that's how we came to be.
Wow.
But originally we were supposed to head to Panama.
Wow, it's such a scary story. People should really think about your life experience, watching that happen to your family, not knowing whether or not you're going to live or die, and think about whether or not they really want a communist revolution. My goodness. That is horrifying to me. Wow. So, okay, when did you hear about, say, Antifa, BAMN, Yvette Felarca, and stuff like that?
Pretty much this year. After the, I started here. I didn't know much about Yvette Felarca and Antifa and all the stuff, because I spent all these years in the military and multiple deployments to Iraq. I was gone all the time, and when the election came about and I started seeing all these riots, I just didn't like the way it was going. It became too eerily familiar to what I had already experienced. And when I started coming out and meeting some of the patriots, going to some of the events, I started, that's when you start learning, okay, about, I met Gabriel Silva, Will Johnson. As a matter of fact, I think our first time I actually met them was at the anti-Sharia law rally in Roseville.
In where?
And that's when I started meeting a lot of the people. I found out about the 3%ers. I've met some Identity Evropa, and all kinds of the spectrum. So, I started doing my research and figuring out, okay, who is the people that you really want to, be with? And, it's the people that are calling for unity, the people that love this country, that understand that the Constitution is our supreme document of the land, that all men are created equal, that none of these, ideology or white supremacy, whatever the crap that is, because if anybody that thinks that they're better than anybody just by race or gender or whatever, guess what? You're already un-American, because you're going against the premises of our Constitution.
Yes, sir.
So I'm being a military guy, I have, taking an oath that never expires to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign, which I did for 21 years, and now is, and domestic. And that's what I'm concentrating, on working on defending America from all those who are trying to destroy it from within. And the more I researched, the more I learned. I started seeing who is this person here, who is that person there. I did a lot of research. Oh, okay, Yvette Felarca, Sunsara Taylor, Shanta Driver, Rafael, whatever his name is, and I started learning and seeing, oh my God, I'm literally seeing the same revolutionary idiots brainwashing the young minds to commit these brutal, assaults and crimes. And I started seeing how they do it. If you look at the Antifa, they don't want anybody with cameras, but yet they have people with cameras around. Yeah. And one of the things that they do is they film their acts of violence, especially about the new recruits that are sent to the front lines. Yeah. And they use that as a mean to keep them in the organization, because if they want to leave or quit, the threats start coming out about how it will be a shame for that video to find itself to the police department. Yeah. And they do that. And and people, unfortunately, people don't know any of these things that happen. And it's like, yeah, they do threaten their members that want to leave. And there's a lot of stories. I'm sure you heard a lot about people trying to leave BAMN, and how Shanta Driver and even Felarca herself have been involved in keeping people sequestered.
Yeah, I've read about, by the way, I've read about the way that cults keep control over people, religious cults. They use all the same techniques, but it's just not a religious cult, it's a political cult. But other than that, they use all the same techniques, yes. Yes.
Wow. So, and that's how I started to learn, and the more I saw it, and she got arrested, and I seen her before, how she comes out all really arrogant, really proud and mighty, think that she's untouchable, and says, you know what? No. I'm going to make it my life mission to expose these people. And that's why I decided to go that day and expose her, because I knew that, you know what, we need all Americans, but especially the very same people that they claim to be protecting, the very same people they claim to be for, we are the ones that need to come out and confront them. Sure. Because when Caucasians come out and confront them, you just say white supremacists, don't listen to him, and the media runs with it. Yes. But they have a harder time doing it when you are one of the minorities, and immigrants with a thick accent, yelling at them. Yes. Because what are they going to call you? Yeah. And I'm sure when the cameras would have been there, they would have called me all kinds of things and probably shot me, but it makes it harder for them in front of the cameras. Sure. Which I don't think that last guy got the memo, because when he did that, you could say Felarca and Shanta Drivers were really pissed at him, because he just made him look bad in camera. Yes, he did. And the press conference came to a halt right there. Yeah. They say we'll go to another location to do our. And
you can hear them say that. Thing. Yeah, you can hear them say that. That's enough. Let's get out of here. Basically, that's what they did.
No, she was charged because she was on video beating up people, lady. Why are you trying to lie again? The video is right there. She is there beating up people on camera. So don't lie. On camera? Yes, it's on camera. And don't even get. Okay.
Hey. Back up. We are doing a press conference and you're not. Grab your phone. She was trying to help you. She was trying to help you. Get away. Get away. No, she wasn't. She used his arms. Okay. She's part of the problem. She's always right there. Always right there. Get out. She's always right there. They will pull off the.
You have your phone, right? So who's got my phone? It may have gone down here.
Oh, there it is. Okay. That's all right. I got you on camera. And the cops are there. He attacked me, and I got it on video. So more charges pressing, right?
We're gonna have our press conference elsewhere.
Yep. More charges pressing. All right. Got you on video assaulting people. Exactly what I want.
absolutely amazing. But yeah, I'm sure they're probably going to say, "Oh, he's not with us. He never was with us," etc., etc. But I'm sure that if we look into it,
the videos are there, the pictures is there. I'm there with Felarca.
And if we could dig into the past, we could probably find that the guy that assaulted you has probably been next to Felarca and other people in BAMN. We could probably find that. We'll see what we can do about that.
Oh yes, and like I said, that's the guy. That's the black guy that was talking, on the other video. That's him. And I spent some time last night, and I saw that at every press conference, a recent press conference, he's been there.
Oh,
so
really?
It's not the first time he's been there. So he's one of the members of organizers of Antifa. He's probably one of the I would call lieutenants that keep the kids in line.
I see.
Wow.
Wow.
When you hear him talk, the way he talks,
yes,
this guy is dangerous.
Yeah,
he pollutes young kids' minds, especially if he starts getting a hold of young black males that are they're already being brainwashed about how oppressed they are, and this guy gets a hold of them. Oh man.
Yeah, and if he could say to an intelligent, rational human being standing there talking to him that, I think he said they are killing Mexicans, I think is what he said. If he could say that, to somebody who's not ripe to believe him, imagine what he says to people who want to believe. People who are eager to find Nazis. He's telling them that they're out there killing people. And as you mentioned in the video, listen, people in that area of California, the media in that area of California is so left-wing. I mean, they constantly lie about people. Like they call Joey Gibson, Gab Silva, and everybody else. They call them white supremacists and all this kind of stuff. I've caught Berkeley's side in lies. I've caught all these media people in lies. Yes. They are very much left-leaning. They're not going to cover up murders of Mexicans by Nazis. They're not going to.
Said that in the video. I think I was making commentary. Says,
this is why you stayed in school.
They left this town with all the media.
Yeah.
And they were stabbing people on the side. Why didn't they report that?
Right.
Especially leftists. Okay, the media's on your side. Why wouldn't they report that? I mean, they would eat that up.
Yes, they would. They would eat that up. Definitely, they would certainly eat that up. And that's just to kind of put this in somewhat of a linear order. June 26, 2016, at the state capitol in Sacramento, there was that riot that Yvette Felarca was one of the leaders of. She engaged in violence, and a few months ago she was arrested for her actions on that day. It does seem, however, as if the prosecution is only charging her for what you could see in the one video where she's giving these little wimpy punches to this guy in the stomach, and not for what you could see, what I've shown in other videos on this, where you could see her throwing objects at basically...
Well,
go
ahead. There's been a lot of people that have been in contact with the DA and would be forwarding all these videos. So it's more because they should be charged with assault battery, inciting riots, destruction of public property, unlawful. There's a couple of things that they, but I know one of them is inciting riots. Inciting violence. So there's multiple charges. So if there are any videos that you might have, might be a good idea to send it to the DA. Her name is Susan Walsh.
Yes. Yeah, she gave me the contact, and actually I have sent it to the DA already. I should just keep sending it though.
Yeah, I mean, just make sure that it's good, because I'm going to make sure that I haven't been able to send because that my video to him. So we need to send that to the DA to show, hey, you know what? She just left out of here, and right outside, this happened. Yeah. So they can see, look, these people are dangerous. Yeah. They need to be held accountable.
Yeah. So you can see her in video throwing objects at not only her enemy, but she's throwing an object and it could easily hit one of her allies. Then there's the part where you could see her pick up a flagpole and use it like a javelin. She's charging against the Golden State Skinheads. And this is not to say that these are good guys. However, rule of law, Bill of Rights, they do have the legal right. They had a permit to gather. They have the right to peaceable assembly and freedom of speech, however disgusting their views may be. But anyway, she could be seen charging them with a flagpole, fighting with a guy over the flagpole. And even though it wasn't her, somebody over her shoulder threw bottles of liquid that quickly go from clear to reddish brown almost hitting her own people. It's not to say that she really, not that she did that, but she's working with these people who are throwing bottles of acid.
Some of that stuff that were throwing was urine and feces.
Yeah, but I mean, urine and feces is bad enough, but acid. They were throwing acid in Sacramento. Yeah, I'm talking about liquid that goes from clear, like water, then it turns reddish brown, and then all of a sudden everybody in the area starts coughing. So that's acid.
Now watch the feet of the guy in the upper left-hand corner. The bottle hits the ground right next to his feet. There. Now it is not red yet, but watch it turn red. Wait for it. And there. It is turning red. Now what can do that? It could be phenol, or it could be purple alcohol, if I'm saying these things correctly. Both of these substances, upon contact with the air, become yellow, amber, pink, or red. Both of these substances burn. They burn your lungs, they burn your skin, etc. So there you go, folks. Antifa, taking notes from jihadists like ISIS, has been using chemical warfare.
Yeah.
Yes, and the other thing about it is, going back to something we mentioned earlier, is, those, about the two extremes, the right and the left. Well, that's who they were fighting. It was the extreme right on the other side, and this is what happens.
Yeah.
Out of all the all the confrontations that actually turned bloody and really, really bad, it was both extremes coming to our heads with each other.
And that's one of the very few times that they actually went up against people who actually do proudly wear swastikas and stuff like that. The Golden State Skinheads, they're pretty open about, their love of Nazism and white supremacy. The Traditionalist Workers' Party, they keep that more crypto. But the fact that you could see the leader of the Traditionalist Worker Party in Kentucky a few months ago, so we know what he's really about. But to get back to my point, is that in Sacramento in 2016 was one of the very few times that Antifa and BAMN actually confronted people who are actually white supremacists. And since then, they've just been accusing people like, say, Gab Silva and everybody else. Yeah, all the Patriot people, whether they're LBGT, whether they're not white or whatever, they're all Nazis because, you know what, they're a safer target. They got stabbed in Sacramento. Now they're going up against people who are just all over the map, who don't, and then all of a sudden Kyle Chapman and people like that step in and say, no, you're not going to beat people over the head anymore. However, my point is that was one of the last times that they ever tried to confront neo-Nazis. They tried again in Kentucky this past summer, but there were barriers there, which is probably why they showed up. But since that time in Sacramento, they've just been accusing regular people of being Nazis.
And you hear that guy on the video talking about, Joey Gibson, he's just another Nazi. They changed their tactics, but they're Nazis. Yes. And the cops, not all the cops are Nazi, but the people that are in charge of the cops are. So basically, anybody that has any form of authority is a Nazi. And so he's just listening to his rants. I was more entertained listening to going like, wow.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's like, I just never thought anybody could be that stupid.
Yeah. Yeah,
like, and wow, you take the record on that one. Congratulations.
And by the way, we're talking about the whole binary thing. He spends a lot of time telling the politician man that he's talking to get out of this whole two sides thing. There aren't two sides, there aren't two sides, there aren't two sides.
That's not two sides. The Nazis are not a side unless you were on their side. So there's no two sides. There is no two sides.
And then he says one side is trying to kill people, or one side is killing people, and the other side is trying to prevent that side from killing people.
One side murders people, and the other side defends people from being murdered.
Wait, what?
One side murders people.
Okay.
And the other side defends people from being murdered.
Okay, well, that's two. Okay, if one side blah 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 and the other side blah blah blah, that's two. Okay, 1 + 1 = 2. Okay.
So, there aren't two sides, but yet there's only two sides.
and the politician keeps saying, well, have you tried talking to the other side?
Right.
There are no two sides. Well, you just said that.
Yes.
It's like talking to a wall. You can't talk.
Yeah, and that's a 1990
normal conversation.
It's an Orwellian doublethink right there. There is two sides, but yet there isn't. There is, but there isn't. So, okay, Yvette Felarca, for her actions on June or the summer of 2016, June 26th, I believe it was. She was finally arrested in July 18th of 2017 for that, and a few other people were
in LA.
too. Yes,
the LA airport.
Yeah, that's amazing. A few other people were too. So she's already in trouble for that. Now, Free Speech Week, I believe, was the September 24th through the 27th. So that went on there at UC Berkeley. She participated in that. At one point during that week, she did kick Crowman17, a fellow YouTuber. Hey, Crowman, how's it going? She kicked him in the shin. He actually spoke to the police about that. But she otherwise, she otherwise engaged in violence. I know that she was shoving against Amber Gwen Cummings, another Patriot warrior hero. Hey, Gwen, or Amber, not Gwen.
And Silva.
Oh yes, Gabe Silva.
In that incident, it was Gabriel Silva and Kyle Chapman. She assaulted them both when she got taken down.
I see. On the 26th, I believe, is when she actually was arrested for doing that, along with a few of the other people like comrades Eddie Robinson, Porfirio Paz, who sometimes goes by Rafael, of Refuse Fascism, Sunsara Taylor's, I guess, right-hand man or something like that.
And that's why when she got released from jail and she had that press conference
on the 28th,
that's when I went and confront her on that one. That's how I become her next favorite guy now.
So on the 28th of September, when you first confronted them and you were blowing the whistle and saying that they're about violence, was that the first time that they realized that you are not actually on their side?
I think they were taken back because, see, I had a different look. Some people call me the man with like multiple disguises because I'm. That day I showed up, I had a goatee, and the other day, when some of the other days when I was there, I had a full beard on, and it's like some days I'll clean shaving, sometimes I take this off, sometimes I have a high and tight, sometimes I dye my hair. So I have to keep them guessing.
Yes.
So,
that's cool.
But I think they recognize my, and also if you look at the way I was dressed, because some people were saying how are you gonna pull it off? Because I said when. You kind of stand very erect, and from the military years, and it's like, oh no, watch me. I had my pants saggy, like down the crack, and it was like what up? What's up, ese? Don't be calling me, it's like down with the patriarchy and all these putos, ese, Jose Lopez, So and these people are like, if you're a minority, they're like, oh yeah, more minorities, because they're not fighting for you. They just want more foot soldiers that they can throw in front of the cameras, and that way they can say, look, these are our saviors. They always come in as your saviors, but they're not saviors by far.
Let's see here. So then, because of what she did on the 26th, because of the assaults that she did on the 26th, there was then there was an arraignment hearing in Sacramento Superior Court on November 8th, which you found out about, I believe, because of Susan Walsh telling you. And you rushed down there with your camera, and we'll show the audience some of the video there, including what that guy was saying, some of the crazy stuff he was saying. I love when you said, this is why you don't do drugs, and you should stay in school, which is great.
Kids, it's like the kids staying, this is why you don't do drugs, stay in school.
I've been in Nazi concentration camps.
Do you know that you're insane?
I've seen
Nazi concentration camps. He was in World War II.
Like, goddamn. Kids, this is why you need to stay in school and don't do drugs.
And then the second video was outside because you had to turn off your cell phone to go into the court. And then afterwards, outside is again when you were exposing them, when you were saying how they're all about violence and how they lie to the media and all that kind of stuff. And then that man hits your phone and you tussle on the ground. Now it was I'm sorry, you weren't on the ground. The Sacramento Bee.
We never made it to the ground. They made it sound like we made it to the ground, but we didn't.
Right. The Sacramento Bee says, quote, the tussle began when a man knocked the camera phone wielded by another man wearing a badge that identified him as, quote unquote, media who had begun to heckle driver. The pair tussled to the ground, but were quickly broken up and no one was arrested, unquote. So would you like to clear the record on that?
Yeah, after he hit me and my phone went flying, my first reaction was to grab, just to grab because he was right in front of me. And when I grabbed them, my first instinct was to unfortunately grab him, and I was going to slam him on the ground. But when I saw him, much older, and I kind of paused, and I kind of realized what I was about to do, and I let him go because I didn't want to hurt the guy. Yeah, he knocked the phone out of my hand, but in the process of doing it, he hit me in the face. But you know what? I kind of like. No, I'm not there to beat him up. I could easily, have done that. The whole point is to expose these people for who they are, and
perhaps your military and martial arts discipline.
That part of me, that says, you're not about to hurt this guy, and because he looks like he's closer to 60, and it says, you know what, I'll hate to slap him on the brook and end up like with a broken bone or a broken hip, and then I'm gonna feel bad, So I said,
Right, and I believe, I took a little bit of martial arts, and one of the things that they learn is how to have that control, to not just fight back, but to, just think and stop for a moment. So perhaps it was your military and/or your martial arts discipline that prevented
because
you.
I've been a student of Wing Chun. So
that's what
I've been a student of Wing Chun for a while, for a few years.
That's what Bruce Lee started out as in China, right? Wing Chun.
Yes. Yeah. My teacher was a disciple of Master Ip Man.
Wow! So that's Bruce Lee's teacher.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
So I said, because my first reaction was it took me like a fraction of a second because I kind of saw his face, like because I was about to put him down, and then I just let him go, and I just pushed him on, then I just jumped the barricade to get my phone, and you hear me, and you hear Felarca saying, "Oh, she's only trying to help you," because my wallet fell off. Okay. As my wallet fell off, some of I think my military ID fell to the ground, and I don't know. I don't think it was accidental, but she stepped on on my ID card, and and they were pointing to my wallet. It was in the side. Well, I wanted her to move off because obviously I don't know if she was accidentally or intentionally hiding my ID card so she could pick it up later.
Right.
And I kind of like pushed her to the side, and that's when you hear them say, "Oh, it's like she's only trying to help you." And I wasn't trying to hurt her. It's just, want to make sure that she didn't get a hold of my ID card.
Right.
So.
Right. And by the way, audience, we haven't mentioned in the video, this is a middle school teacher. Okay? Yes. This is and by the way, she goes to a school named after a man who preached nonviolence, Martin Luther King Jr. Middle School, and she preaches the exact opposite message, Malcolm X's message, by any means necessary. How you can't just make this stuff up in fiction. It's amazing, absolutely amazing that happened. So, did anybody file a complaint over that scuffle with the police?
Yes, I went to I talked to the police officers there, and they said that I had to go to the police, the Sacramento Police Department of Freeport. I think it's Freeport Boulevard or Freeport, I think. So I ended up having to go down there. I sat down and filed a police report, and they just waiting to get the information for like who this guy is, his name.
Right.
So they can put that in and then contact the detective so they can look at the evidence, probably look at the video from the courthouse itself, and take it from there.
Have you been contacted by any media about this? I mean, I noticed that they briefly talked with you, but they didn't seem very interested in talking with you. I mean,
No, they only talked to me, and I talked to the media, asked me a lot of questions, and I was surprised they actually put down a couple like that 2 quotes where I was saying that about Felarca, that anybody that does not agree with her is a fascist, and and the violence and that we are from a group of people that are trying to stop the violence from both sides because it's not it's not acceptable. He actually he asked me another question because I told him, that is un-American. That's not who we are.
Yeah.
We can have disagreements and a public discourse, but if it comes to to an impasse on opinions, we take it to the ballot. We're not to go and beat up our neighbors, our friends or family or whoever might be the people you don't know just because you don't agree with them. But unfortunately, you have people that are bringing an un-American ideology, which says it's okay to beat up people in the name of the revolution.
Yeah.
And that's what people need to understand.
Yeah.
Hey, we need to stop this now before it gets out of hand, because it's already getting out of hand.
It is already getting out of hand. I mean, already we have, not just in Canada, laws against certain speech, but also laws that compel you to say certain things now, because of C-16 went through, and so you can basically end up in jail for not paying fines for being charged with not saying somebody's made-up pronoun.
Yes.
Now, I have nothing against trans people, and I'll even call a male a she if they want to, but if the government tries to force me to, no.
See, usually I don't have a problem with that. I mean, especially my experience has been the people that are genuinely, this is their lifestyle, they're not pushy about it,
Yeah.
And when they're like that, I'm more likely to respect their wish and do these things and go out of my way to, because they have earned my respect. But people that are like on your face, I'm gay, deal with it, and this is how you're going to address me, otherwise I'm going to go to jail.
Right.
Okay, then now you're pushing my buttons and to say, no, I'll call you whatever I want to. And right now, you're a jerk. Guess what?
Yeah. And it's interesting how they try to make it seem like trans people are all on board with this anti-free speech thing. Amongst, say, the people in Berkeley or in that area who are freedom fighters, who are against Antifa, against BAMN, against this anti-free speech movement, and would be, I'm pretty sure, they're all against, say, laws that could force you to say certain people's made-up gender pronouns. We have people like Aaron Sith, Amber Cummings, and Angelique Castaneda. Okay, these are all trans people. They are on the side of freedom. They do not want people to be forced to say certain words. They are pro-free speech. They are against Antifa. They are against BAMN. And it's funny how the anti-free speech people, they want you to think that, oh, trans people and gay people, LGBT people, they all agree with us that we have to force people legally to use these pronouns. And it's not just in Canada, because you have it in the entire state of California. You have it also, it's been for a few years now in New York City. Certain people in government and business can get fined heavily for not using somebody's preferred gender pronoun. That's been on the books for quite a while in New York City. I don't know about California, but it's there too. So
they're working on it. I think they were working on passing, and I'm not sure if it passed. I'm sure it probably passed here in California and coming from me. But they come out with this, and it's the thing, there's so much more that needs to be done, so much more that the state needs. A lot of infrastructure, roads and disrepair. We have a homeless problem in a lot of our cities, drug problems in the inner cities, violence.
Yep.
But they want to spend all these millions and all these energies on somebody's pronoun instead of actually something that matters.
Yep, and it's ridiculous. You can get in more trouble now for not using somebody's preferred gender pronoun than for giving somebody HIV.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Don't even get me started with that one. And we're like, you gotta be kidding me. But that's the whole thing. Is California? They've been at it for a while. One of the chiefs of police of Los Angeles. I'm not sure if she just retired, and that's why she finally came out with it. She's saying that her police department was forced by the mayor to underreport crimes by the minorities in order to show that. To change the numbers that that is whites who are doing the crimes, not the minorities.
Wow.
Another thing that they've been doing here is they pass certain laws to discriminalize certain things. For example, certain types of rape, instead of being a felony, now it could be a misdemeanor. Certain types of crime, they're trying to push one out, or I think it will finally pass, that if you commit a crime with a gun, not to make it a felony, but a misdemeanor. Basically bringing down this, that way they can argue, look, when the report comes out, these crimes are not being counted. They say, look, our great effort of the great state of California, look what we've done. Crime is down. This is down. Our jail numbers are down. Oh, that's because they release a lot of people that shouldn't have never been released, but they release them because they dropped their level of felonies to misdemeanors, and oh, okay, well, you're the misdemeanor now. It's the same guy that just, you know, raped, you know, a 60-year-old woman and killed her and murdered her, but oh well, it's a misdemeanor now. So
yeah, and then it makes it seem nicer. You know,
yeah,
I did a video not long ago about a prominent journalist whose work is printed in prominent media outlets, Huffington Post, etc. An Islamist who was basically arguing that in Islam, Islam is an answer to sexual assault with Harvey Weinstein things happening, so let's capitalize on that. But basically what I said in the video is, well, yeah, you could say that there's less rape in Islamic nations because they redefine rape as not rape. So, yeah. And also because, you know, if in accordance to Sharia,
it's hard to prove it.
It's very hard to prove it because you need, I think, 3 or 4 male witnesses. Like, who's going to rape somebody in front of 3 or 4 men who will testify against them?
Come on, we're gonna rape and watch. It's like, it doesn't work that way. And,
right, but it can't even be friends or family. It has to be people who are willing to turn you in. So yeah, it's almost impossible to get in trouble for rape in Sharia-led places.
Because the other side of the coin is, if you cannot find it and you complain, and you cannot find anybody to go against, you know, to actually testify, then they have to declare your innocence, and now the woman is committed adultery, and now she's the bad person. So the victim again, you know, the left have been copying a lot of the stuff that from Islam, I think, because now the victim is now the perpetrator. Oh, wait a minute. Well, you had sex with with out of your marriage, you're an adulterer. Well, let's stone you, and problem solved. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, and you do have leftists who are so far gone that they will say, because of you can't commit the crime of ethnocentrism by saying it's not okay to, say, punish women for being raped, because that's their culture, and who are you to say that it's wrong to punish women for being raped? Which is something they actually do say. I mean, I argue with people online all the time who will argue these things. Who are you to say that it's not okay for a full-grown man to marry a 9-year-old girl and to then marital rape her? Who are you to say? Well, you know, because objectively speaking, we could say that in medical science that it harms a child both physically and psychologically to be groomed like that, and that it's objectively speaking, it harms people. That's how we could condemn that. And it's not just a cultural bias.
Don't say that, because you're going to upset all the members of NAMBLA.
Right.
You know?
Which, by the way, is something I wanted to mention. You know, we have what may or may not be false flaggers in Columbia University. I'm still investigating that. So far, I haven't found any hard evidence that it actually was a false flagger who had that NAMBLA banner, who had Antifa and no pedo bashing on there. It may or may not be false flag, but there actually is no evidence that it is false flag. There's only evidence that most of the people there objected to that message. However, you may know this, there is a real connection between BAMN and NAMBLA through Shanta Driver and her partner.
Yes.
Right, and also, not only that... Go ahead.
I think sometimes they do like these dry runs to see how people react to it. If people are more accepting, then it's fine. But if they don't accept it and they get a backlash, then, oh, that wasn't us.
Right.
Well, then why were there no more actively engaged in removing that banner and silence them? Because they have no problem beating people up they don't agree with.
Right.
So why they're not very aggressive with them?
Right,
like,
and I think they're going to roll it out again. I mean, I think you're suggesting that at some point they're going to try it again, and maybe next time it'll be more well received.
Yeah, they'll try it in a few more years, because, you know, they've been doing this for a while, trying to pass legislation saying, you know, it's okay because, you know, what better way to do sexuality than by an adult that is going to care for your needs and do it in a safe manner. It's like, you know, and you know, NAMBLA has been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
A lot of these politicians that have been caught in sex scandals, they've all been caught with one way or another with child porn. So you know, it's part of their ideology and culture to just pervert everything.
And
which,
then there's
by
the
the
marriage
way,
with
is
Islamists
another of the
too.
steps to the 45 goals is actually one of them.
Right. And then also there's that marriage with Islamism as well, because if you have to prepare people to be accepting of Sharia law zones where full-grown men can marry little girls and do stuff with them, you know, you have to get people to accept that. Well, there has to be more support. And there is, you know, unfortunately, it's the whole thing of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So Unfortunately, people on the left, they have this unconscious thing where they go, okay, I don't like right-wing Republican Christians. Right-wing Republican Christians don't like Muslims, so therefore I have to like Muslims, and therefore I have to like Sharia. But no, that opens the door for child rape, unfortunately. And so unfortunately, they have to... And by the way, my beautiful Tabitha, she's researched a lot of these people, and it does seem like in any city where there is a lot of Antifa, if you look at the most active members that everybody could be traced back to, they seem to be Islamists. So, for example, here in Eugene, I'll say his name right now, Reuben Bundy. Sometimes it goes by Reuben X. Bundy. Quoted her earlier, he was in Eugene Weekly saying liberals are partially to blame, and blah, 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 blah. This man can be seen wearing the Khalifa. He's pro-Saudi Arabia. He is pro-Islamist. He wears, the thing around his neck to show that he's, he is a freaking jihadist. And he seems to be the ringleader of Eugene, Antifa in Eugene.
Well, here's the thing about it. The anarchists, and all these, not the anarchists, because they're just useful idiots.
Right.
The Marxists,
right?
They don't agree with that. They're not going to side at the with the Islamists. But right now, they're the enemy of my enemy, and they're useful idiots to use them because they're very militant and they can get into do all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
And they're so arrogant that they can think, oh, we'll just use them and then we'll be able to control them later. We'll shoot them or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it's being shown what happens. I mean, eventually, if they get in power, there will be, obviously there'll be a lot of mass execution, so they'll get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're already creating little monsters that they're getting out of hand and they don't know how to deal with it. Like, for example, the DACA kids that confronted Nancy Pelosi in the San Francisco, thing. They created that monster, and now they're coming out, and they get out of control. And I'm sure, orders came from the top to tell this whoever's in charge of that group to, control your people because he just made them look bad.
Right.
Same thing it happens with Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Do they want Islam here? No, because that's a competing ideology.
Right.
But they have the one thing in common: they want to overthrow the government.
Mm-hmm.
So, they just help to destabilize the nation and create more division. That's the only reason they're here.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, people don't realize. Another good book.
Islam and the Crusades. Politically Incorrect Guide to Islam and the Crusades. Okay. I haven't read that yet.
That's why I have a news, like a channel where I post, a lot of new stuff because I got tired of all these websites that come, all these Facebook pages, and they seem not to have any actual admins. All these clickbait. I posted and all this ridiculous. So I made one. It's called Pig News, and I get kind of the idea from here because it's the pig, politically incorrect guy.
Oh, the pig
guy.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So pig. Yeah.
Politically incorrect guy.
Right.
So my that page is called politically incorrect guy news. Okay. So and I have a little pig in it.
And this is on Facebook?
In Facebook, it's politically incorrect guy.
So would it be
that guy?
Right. Would it be okay if I put a link to that in the video description? Okay.
Yeah, you can. Because and anybody can post anything they want to. As long as they're relevant news articles. People once in a while they post like a funny video and stuff like that, but mostly I'd like stuff to keep us updated. And anything anybody puts, I make sure that our admins and even myself, I go through it and I'll do my research, make sure that it's not some fake sites, and so far I haven't had to delete. I think only twice I had to delete a post because it's always suspicious when somebody posts something completely off the wall, and then you run the title of it to see if anybody else is reporting, and they just happen to be the only ones that are talking about it, and it's some website that nobody ever heard of.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of that, unfortunately, but yeah, you have to sleuth that stuff out. Hold on, there's a motorcycle passing outside. It's quite loud. Okay, it's gone. After either of the times that you confronted Yvette Felarca in public, have you received harassment online from any, say, pro-BAMN, pro-Antifa people?
A couple of times on my own, like, because people share the video, and people go ahead and make a comment, I don't care. I usually just delete them and block them.
Right, but nobody said emailed you or tried to say private message you, and
no, because I don't list my email.
Okay.
On it.
Yeah.
And they're still looking for who is Carlos el Patriota. So, eventually, if you expose yourself long enough, they're gonna find out. But you know what? The area where I live is quite a few, just like the neighborhood I live. It's a lot of retired ex-military, ex-police. As a matter of fact, one of my neighbors is a ATF,
wow.
Guy, and pretty much we're all pretty well armed here.
Yeah. Nice.
If they get past my two, the pit bull that is outside, the people that is inside,
right.
Then they're gonna have to. It's like I always say, like the funny commercial is sign. Don't worry about the dog. Worry about the owner. That
Yes. Yes.
It's like I try to be very calm down and not get overly excited.
Yeah.
I had to work really hard on it because after 10 years of war, I had a lot of severe PTSD. But so I had to work a lot, and that's how I got into martial arts to try to control all that all that energy.
Right.
And but still, I got no problem if I have to defend myself, my loved ones, my neighbor. I'll put a 5.56 round through your head and then ask question later.
Yeah.
If somebody's knocking on my door and I look at any of my multiple cameras I have and I see somebody Antifa looking, I'm not even going to open the door. I'll just shoot right through the door and ask question later. Sorry.
Right on.
But
yeah.
I might rather be traveled by 9 than carried by 6.
Yeah. Yeah, ever since Tabitha and I started exposing Antifa, they started, they did try to dox us. And it's funny because, like yourself, there's all these names out there associated with my face. So they think I'm this and they think I'm that. It's amazing. It's really amazing. And they've shared information all over their network. I've seen people in Berkeley who lots of Antifa people follow on Twitter putting out our information, which turns out to not be correct, but it's pretty funny. It's really funny, but it's good. Yeah, anybody who is interested in doing what you do, or say what Tabitha and I do, it's a pretty good idea to start putting out fake names. Don't make sure your social media is not in your real name. Put out a few different things. Give the wrong address and all that kind of stuff. Because they will try to harass you. My social
media is, even though it's on the right, all my pictures are private. What I have as a picture is a meme. It's Pepe. And
yes.
And the city that he shows is not even the city I live in. So it's just one of those things. Like I tell, the people that I care for, the people that are closer, the pictures in the movement, they know where I live, they know all the stuff.
Right.
But if you're not associated with me, why would you? It's like, I don't care if you don't know where I live.
Yep.
You want to make threats? Yeah, make threats. You can come over to my house and we can have a little chat.
And also, you always have support of lots of other people who are in that movement. As soon as I put out a video about how they were leaving stickers on our front door and stealing stuff from our front door and threatening Tabitha and I, as soon as we put out a video about that, wow, Amber Cummings, Susan Walsh, people like that came out of the woodwork to say, hey, do you need help? We'll even drive up there if you need help. Amazing people. And even though I made it clear that I am actually not a right-winger, I'm kind of a moderate left-winger. Yeah, maybe some of the issues I have, like, say, when it comes to gun control, I'm more right-wing than I am left-wing, things like that. But I made it clear that I am not, for example, a Trump supporter. I don't hate him. I'm not part of this hysteria against him. I actually think a lot of what he does is actually pretty good. But despite the ideological differences, these people have come out of the woodwork to support us. And they just say, look, you believe in freedom. That's what matters. And it's the same thing I've been saying about them. I don't care if you are right-wing or whatever. If you believe in individual liberties and everybody should be free and equal, then I support you.
I told some of my friends, like I told Amber, hey, you know what? And I told her about some of my life experience. I said, look, do I personally subscribe to your movement or or support the LGBT community as an like embrace it as for myself. So it's like, no, I don't. But but I will stand shoulder to shoulder to protect your rights, and anybody comes against you trying to deprive you from your rights, I will stand there and I will fight with you, because you know what? If I am to say that I'm an American and that I believe in our Constitution, then you have to do it, because one freedom denied, it binds us all. Not just that individual. It will bind us all, and we have to fight that. And I said, look, you're my friend, and that I might not agree, just like you might not agree on some things too, but you know what? But I am a firm believer that you have the inalienable rights to live your life as you see fit, as long as you're not interfering in anybody else's right. That's none of the business, and it should never be anybody's business. And that's what we're trying to fight. We have people from different walks of life, but we have one thing in common: we believe in the Constitution, on the individual rights. And even though we might not agree with certain things, we will go there and we will fight for your rights to protect your constitutional freedoms.
Yes, sir.
And that's what matters. That's what we need to, drive that point.
Yeah. Here, definitely.
That's it for part 2, folks. Look forward to part 3. Thanks for watching. Hey, don't click off this video yet. I want to tell you that my best and most controversial videos are not available on YouTube, and I want to tell you how to see them. Things are changing for controversial content creators like myself. These media monopolies like Google and specifically YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, etc. do not want us. They don't want us to say what we say, to expose what we expose, and to make the waves that we do. So they take more and more measures to make us give up. They pander to the far left, the regressive left, the social justice warrior, politically correct crowd who accepts, well, demands the censorship that these companies want us all to accept, or which force us to accept. To make a long story short, you should, like myself, expect my YouTube channel to disappear any day now. By all means, please subscribe to me on YouTube and click that little bell icon, and do the same for my backup YouTube channel, Justin Fidel. But please subscribe to me on Speak Out, formerly called BitChute. Oh wait, they changed it back to BitChute. No! Hopefully they won't change it again by the time you see this, sorry everyone. And on Minds, where you can find my best, most controversial videos. By all means, friend me, follow me, etc. on Facebook, but I want to encourage you to use Minds or Gab or something else instead of Facebook and Twitter, etc. Scroll down and see the links to all of my channels and social media accounts. Also see the Facebook group Womansplaining with Tabitha for Womansplaining with Tabitha videos, and lots of photos and videos of the lovely Tabitha. I also want to tell you that I will no longer use Twitter, because Twitter requires that I delete a bunch of tweets before I can do anything else, and out of principle, to set a good example, I will not do that. To make a long story short, I got into a Twitter war with the famous rapper and rabidly racist Talib Kweli Green, embarrassed the living snot out of him, and well, for the long story, see the video below. Alright folks, until next time, truth, honor, personal integrity, reason, responsibility, peace, love, freedom, equal opportunity, and individuality. Thanks for watching.